Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wendy Lindo Show, where you will meet people that are inspirational, courageous, and people that change lives. So, for today's episode, everyone are in for the treat because I have an amazing host of the SoJanelle TV. She's a mother and a respectable journalist as well. So, without further ado, let me introduce Miss Jannelle So-Perkins.
What a generous introduction. Thank you so much, Wendy, for that introduction. And thank you so much to you and to your staff for having me over.
Well, thank you, Jannelle. I'm the one, and all my staff would like to thank you for coming here because I know you've been very busy with your show as well. And it's a dream that you're here with me. I mean, as an amateur upcoming host, I mean, that means a lot to me, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Of course, there's not too many Filipino media outlets out there. And so when we have producers, Filipino producers, I self-produce as well. And so it's very important for me to give back to the community. And one way of giving back is to support fellow producers like you.
Oh, thank you, Jannelle. So now my TWLS viewers also wanted to know, how did Jannelle So started in the areas of journalism? We wanted to know how you started in the Philippines.
How much time do we have?
Just a brief. I know you have an amazing
Very
stories.
quick.
Yes.
No, so I started in the Philippines as a sportscaster. So I was a courtside reporter for the PBA and a halftime host, also best player interviewer at the end of the games. But even before that, not too many people know, when I was a college junior, I think in the Philippines, Marinol, Miriam College, formerly Marinol. I was first I was invited to guest co-host for a public affairs show on Channel 13. And then from then, I guess the director liked me, so offered me a job to host a youth-oriented public affairs show. This was spearheaded by the office of then President Fidel Ramos. And then, so I did that while I was still in college. Meanwhile, Vintage Television, which was the broadcasting company that was broadcasting, owned the franchise of the PBA games, they wanted to get me regularly for NCAA. It's collegiate basketball in the Philippines. But I couldn't because my priority was college, so it was conflicting with my schedule. Whereas the public affairs show kind of, in a way, adjusted to my schedule a little bit, so I would give them my free time. And so I did that. And then when I graduated from college, when I graduated from college, that's when I worked more frequently for the PBA. But then at that time, I was already also doing the evening newscast for Channel 13. So I did a public affairs show during the day. I did basketball games on the weekends. And then I did a daily evening newscast for Channel 13.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
So you started from sports and then at night, like a newscaster. What's the difference between, I know there's two different worlds, especially with sports. So when you started, who is the person that believed in you that you can get to a bigger level, like where you at right now?
I have a lot to thank. I have people at Vintage Television to thank. Ronnie Nathaniels, the late Ronnie Nathaniels, I would still say that he was a mentor to me. I think I graduated college, in the Philippines, graduation around March, right? I graduated college around March. I can't remember the exact year. I think it was 1998. And then that December, Ronnie already put me in as in the lineup of sportscasters that they were fielding to cover the 1998 Asian Games in Bangkok. So that was my first live event, and it was international at that because it was the Asian Games. So I have him to thank. I have to thank the staff of Vintage Television, the producers that, they kept assigning me to cover games, and that's how I kind of honed whatever skill I had at the time. To answer your question about the difference between newscasting and newscasting, especially anchoring, it was more reading of a prompter. Of course, there had to be understanding of the news because you're reading it, but sportscasting, I believe honed me for interviewing.
Yeah.
Because you had to think on your feet. If there were any injuries, you had to report on them. It's not scripted.
Spontaneous.
Yes, more
Wow.
spontaneous, and it was not. There was no teleprompter to read of. And then you also, it trained me to listen. And observe. So I would during timeouts, for instance, I would go listen in the huddle, and then I will report on what I heard. So think on my feet and really listen and observe. So yeah.
So the international event, was that your first big break?
No. Because even before that, I was fielded by IBC, Channel 13 in the Philippines, to cover the informal ASEAN summit in, I believe that was Malaysia. That was a year before they sent me to cover the Asian Games in Bangkok. So, but still, that was, I think, my bigger break was covering the ASEAN summit, because that was the first.
I see.
But the sports, it's still memorable as well, because I wasn't really into sports when I got into sports casting. Yeah.
So how was it? Like, I know in the Philippines, it's so hard to get into that industry. And then you said you were still in college, and then someone just saw you that you have a potential. Is that what happened?
So for IBC 13, they sent an invitation to our dean, College of Communication, and the dean sent me.
Wow.
Yeah. I was kind of excelling academically at that time. And so when the invitation came, the dean talked to me and said, would you be interested in this opportunity? And I said, sure. So I did that. But for sports, I hung out with a lot of athletes when I was in college. And vintage television, I still remember, for many, you may still remember as well, Anthony Suntay was a sportscaster for vintage television at the time. And he came to our school with the crew of vintage, specifically to audition new faces.
I see.
And because I was hanging out with a lot of athletes, they, during our lunch break, they all went to audition. And instead of me eating lunch on my own, I said, I'll tag along. So I tagged along. And then they finished auditioning, and then Anthony looked at me and said, what about you? Because everyone in our group auditioned. And he said, what about you? I said, I'm not into sports. And said, no, just, talk to me, because we just want to see how you register on camera. It doesn't matter if you're into sports or not. I said, okay. So I did. And then I was one of the 4 that they got.
Wow.
They were looking for, I guess, fresh faces to host some of the live events during the PBA All-Star Games.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember those times. I think we're about the same age. I'm older than you. But you're lucky, because I remember when I was in college, I would always want to watch those PBA games.
Really?
Yes, and I couldn't even get in because,
Oh, okay.
And that's why I admire from that. So since you were in the Philippines, I think this is already your passion. So tell me more about how you started your career here in the U.S.
So I was already doing my show, and from then I was commissioned by National Commission for Culture and Arts to do an education program for them, right? So I did a series, and then I had my own sports show. It was a weekly show. So basically, I thought that my career in the Philippines was on the right track. But in, I believe, 1999, my maternal grandmother's petition for our family got approved. And so my parents sent my siblings first to school to study here. And they stayed with me in the Philippines, trying to convince me to leave. And I didn't want, because I had a career there. But then, after a while, that pull of the family was stronger.
Yes.
So I said, you know what, I'll try it out. My dad was saying too, try it out. If you don't like it, then it's fine. At least you tried it out. But what if you like it? And then you can stay with us. So in 2003, I believe, I said to my dad, so I enrolled at UCLA Extension for print and broadcast journalism. I said I had to give up my tourist visa. And then I had to convert to student visa. And then I did the program at UCLA. So I thought that I was turning my back on my career because I've always thought that family over career, right? Because career,
come and goes.
yes,
Yeah.
I think. Plus, yeah. So, and family, you only have one,
Yes.
you know. And so 2003, I turned my back on my career. And then, in fact, even after I finished my course, I was already thinking of going back to the Philippines because I was missing what I was doing.
Of
It's
course,
fun,
yes,
right?
Yes, it is fun.
But what happened? Oh, and then I think at that time I said, you know what? It's fine. I went into sales. I went into sales. I went into newspaper advertising sales, and I got into that because I not auditioned. I applied to be what do you call that? A writer.
Editor.
Yeah, a writer. And they told me that they would only sponsor my visa if I did advertising sales for them. And I said, what is that? And then they said, okay, here's what you do, da 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 da. And I said, okay, I'll try it out. My first paycheck was $50
Wow.
for a month of work. No, 2 weeks of work.
But it was the
Because you earn
experience
from
also.
commission, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
And
yeah.
oh my gosh, don't get me started on the experience. I would bring all my newspaper and then park in a plaza and I would go door to door.
Wow.
Like, you're this business, you're in a Filipino community. You might want to advertise the Filipinos. Here's our newspaper. It's a Filipino, like, blah, 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 blah. So all that. So anyway, I did that for a year. Money was good. In sales, you know, at that time, pre-internet, pre-social media, you know, there was only print and TV, right? And I couldn't get into TV. I got into print, doing sales. And then 2005, LA18, which is an Asian language network here in Southern California, announced they were having auditions. So I applied for that just, you know, to see, whatever, right? And then the following year was when I heard from them. At that time, I was already thinking of moving back to the Philippines. Excuse me, but I was assigned by I'm not sure if it was a brand in the Philippines or a media outlet, to say, why don't you stay put, cover the NBA All-Stars 2006.
NBA.
Yes, NBA All-Stars in Houston. I said, okay, I'll cover that. And then after that, I'm going to go home, right? But a week before the NBA All-Stars, LA18 called me and said, we want you to come back for a second audition. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to finish this Houston thing first and I'll come back for a second audition. But let me tell you, I'm thinking of going back to the Philippines already. But then during my second audition, after that audition, right there and then they said, when can you start?
Wow.
So I said, well, next week. And so 2006 was when, and then they said they started training. You're going to go through a week of training. You're going to get paid. Da, 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 da. After 3 days of training, they said, well, you're ready. You don't need to train anymore. We'll go live next Monday.
Wow.
I said, you can't.
That fast?
Yeah, I said, you can't do that. They said, why not? So I don't have authorization to work for you. My work visa was sponsored by the newspaper, right? And so I can't work for you, technically. And they said, why didn't you tell us right away? We could have expedited your da-da-da-da. I said, well, I'm telling you now. And so they expedited my visa. And they pushed the launch of the show until I got I think you have to apply. Once you get the confirmation that it's been received, you can technically start working until it gets approved, right? So that's what happened. And so we launched on April, I believe 26, 2006,
Wow.
Kababayan, LA.
Kababayan LA. That's how, the first major here in the
First and only locally produced daily talk show.
I didn't even know that you started on sales, and it's hardworking talaga, no? Everyone just see you now, but they don't know what you've been through.
Yeah.
Everyone,
and then God has a plan.
It is
all the time, right? All the time. During those times when I was doing sales, I was like, okay, money is good. And I consoled myself by using that money to buy whatever stuff that I thought would make me happy. But I still didn't,
it wasn't your passion.
Yes. And so when I got the show and I was hosting and producing it every day and I was still doing the newspaper, kasi sayang naman, I had already built my clientele.
Yeah.
I talked to my boss at the time at the station and I said, look, I have clients advertising in the newspaper. They also want to advertise on TV. How do we do this? Da, da, da. And that's when I started hosting, producing, and selling my own show.
Wow. You were prepared for that.
I think so. I think God was preparing me.
Preparing you for bigger things.
In
That's what I see
hindsight,
right
yeah,
now.
in hindsight, yes.
So,
And then I left the show, and that's what led me to SoJanelle. Because when I left the show, during that time when I built the show from zero to up, Kababayan LA, it became Kababayan Today because it was syndicated in Hawaii and all that stuff. It became the longest running Filipino talk show outside of the Philippines.
Wow.
And then I left because I wanted to get married and pursue family. That was the second time that I left my career for family.
I see. Second time. The first one is when you were in the Philippines and you have a great career. You have to leave that behind to be here with your family, to choose family, and now LA.
And then I left it again to choose family again because I wanted to raise my own children. I wanted to raise family. But then, so I left Kababayan. But because I was an employee, I didn't have a hold on the show.
Yes.
I had nothing. I got no residuals. I got nothing, right, from what I built. And it was 8.5 years of my adult career life, right? And so I told my husband, if I were to do this again, I want to own it.
Of course.
I want for it to be my own production so I can do what I want. It's going to be a big risk because of financial exposure. But I said, sink or swim, it will be mine.
And you're building your own.
Yes.
You have the authority to do whatever you want as well.
Right.
So that's how you started as SoJannelle TV.
Yeah. So 2014, I left Kababayan 2 weeks before my wedding. And then I got bored. 2015, I said, I'm going to start my own productions. I registered my own company and all that. And then I discovered I was pregnant with my daughter, my first child.
Oh, which is, she's 5 years old,
She's
right?
5 years
she's
old
so
now.
beautiful. I always see them on IG. That's yes.
Yeah, so my husband said, you might as well sit it out and wait. But then when I had her, I didn't want to work. I wanted to be there for her. So first 18 months, I didn't work. And then in 2017 was when I launched SoJannelle in July.
In July
of 2017.
I see.
And then 2018, I got pregnant again.
Congratulations. Well, you know what? Kids are precious.
Yes.
And you have to do it like as young as you are or able. Because there's a lot of women that wanted to bear a child. They couldn't. So I think we're fortunate.
Right.
Yes.
You know, Karen Davila, a very esteemed journalist from the Philippines, interviewed me for her show once, not too long ago. And she asked me, like, you're already in Hollywood, you're already doing this, and why don't you apply to go mainstream?
Yes, yeah.
And I said, look, Karen, my priority right now is my family, are my children.
Yes.
There was a point in time when I didn't even think that I'd even have children. I had Lily when I was 38. And when I was pregnant with Leo at 41, I was on bed rest because I was an older mom, And I said, but God gave me these two precious children, a girl and a boy, no less. I want to show my gratitude to God by focusing on the children, the lives that He has entrusted me with, And career will always be there.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, if I have my own company, I'm able to schedule my work or my day around them.
Yeah.
I want to be able to take them to the doctor's appointments, dentist, want to be school,
volunteer,
library,
said.
volunteer, all that. So,
like that.
And then third, why would I want to work for someone if I can work for myself?
True, yes.
So yeah,
You learn a lot from those experiences. And you already put in a lot of years and hours. You said 8.5 years. And now you have a beautiful family. You have beautiful kids. And I think it's time for you to also put more hours for your family as well. Because like you said, career come and goes whenever you want. And you build a great show as well. And my question is, Miss Jannelle, like if I'm starting like when you first started. Can you give me like tips? Maybe top 3 tips that you can give advice to me because I'm starting.
First of all, you're doing so well.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you.
Secondly, I guess that's it. Just to be an interviewer, I was talking to Kuya Boy Abunda not too long ago as well. He interviewed me for the anniversary of my show. We turned 4 years old this year.
I saw that one.
Yes. To be a good host / interviewer, you need to listen. And you're doing that, right? Because that's how you pick up on what because I think the most engaging interviews are the conversational ones.
Yes.
Right? So the conversation just flows. And it will not flow if you're reading off the questions, right? Yeah. And you're doing that. So it's amazing, right? For someone like you who didn't really go to school for this and all that. So you're doing amazing. So that's number 1. Number 2.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, mentor. Thank you, coach.
And then number 2, just know your subject. Try to establish rapport even before the cameras go ticking. Yeah. And that's a slippery slope for me even now because you don't want to ask all the questions so that when you sit down and the camera is already rolling.
Yes.
It now appears scripted because you already know, right? And so it's like you establish rapport, but at the same time you don't ask all the questions you want to ask before the cameras start rolling, right?
Yes.
And of course, the usual, do your research, read up, watch interviews with whoever you're interviewing.
Yes.
And I always used to say this, I think when I was still doing Kababayan, it's your show. It's the Wendy Lindo show. It's SoJanelle show. But really, viewers also watch you for your guests. So sometimes it's not about us, but it's about how much you can get out of your guests.
Got it. Yes, extract information. Now I can ask more questions then.
Yes.
No, you know what, Jannelle? I was watching your interview with Paco. I kind of learned a lot from you there because you're a warrior and a survivor as well, and women power. Because I heard that even though you're going through some challenges, personal problem, you're always showing up.
Yes.
That's like ethics, like sometimes, when you're like down on that situation, you just don't want to get up and do what you're doing, right? You're like, I don't want this, I needed time. So how did you overcome those things? And you would always show up. It's like nothing happens because I needed to know about that because I know there's going to be time that I will go through that situation as well.
It's the same now. I'm going through something, but I can't show it because you have to leave it at the door, so to speak, right? And then take a deep breath and
yes.
Okay, right? And it's just what, an hour?
An hour. And then you're like,
you have to keep it together for an hour. No.
Yes.
But I think that what I've gone through, right? It was tough. It made me sad, but it didn't break me because I was confident that was all part of God's plan.
Yes.
And so I think that's why I was able to keep pushing, right? Because if you let these, and even now, like I can say that there's really nothing much more that I want out of life. I'm I've reached a point where I feel fulfilled. I'm happy. I'm content. I'm at peace. But it doesn't mean to say that there are no problems. There are problems all the time. That's because we're always being tested, right?
All the time, yes.
All the time. And it's a matter of whether, you're going to push on or not. During that time, my motivation was, like I said, I'm doing God's work. I'm doing what God wants for me. And this is just, a minor glitch, right? Also, I owned up to it. Like, in the back of my mind, I kind of knew, like, when you make decisions, sometimes oh, this is bad. But because we're stubborn, we want to
still do it.
Yes, right? And then the consequence, right? So then I kind of knew, so I'm going through this because I made a bad decision or I made bad decisions.
That's why you
And so I have to go through
Yes.
this and I have to learn so that I don't make that bad decision again.
Yes.
Things like that. So that was my motivation. Nowadays, my motivation are my children. You know, there are problems, but if I show them
Good problems.
still problems,
Still problem,
but
right?
if I show them
Yes.
that I climb up
Yes.
and although there are days when it's like that, I would call my husband like, I don't want to do anything today. And my husband is so supportive. I'm very blessed. He's such a kind man. It's okay. Stay in bed.
How important is it to have a
Good
great
partner.
support system? Because especially what we're doing, we're always out, especially you before, and good thing that you can do at the comfort of your home. But how important it is to have a support system with you?
It's very important, especially with the kids. Yeah, we do have a nanny, but my husband and I are both very hands-on.
I can see
So,
that.
for
yeah.
instance, I like to cook for my children, and I don't just cook like processed food. I don't mean like, putting frozen chicken nuggets in the oven. We do that, but when there are times we make time to like cook, I cook porridge, I cook, different things for them. And it's very important to have somebody that understands. My husband is also in the similar industry, so he travels a lot. When he travels, I understand that he has to travel, and he's not going there to like, have fun.
Party, yes.
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 And in the same way, when I have to travel, he understands. Like I have to travel, take care of the kids, right?
Wow,
So
I love
things like-
that.
yeah.
Because sometimes in a relationship, there's always like either a guy doesn't want
boss.
the boss, right, or you have to be submissive, and you do all the work. And with you guys, you have a great it's a great combination.
It's a
Great
partnership.
talaga. Like both of you supporting each other. That's what's important, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
And also like, we're on our 2021, 7 years.
Wow,
7 years of
7
marriage.
years.
With 2 kids under the age of 5. We're in the dark ages. You've had kids,
yes,
right?
I have yes.
This stage is so difficult because they're on different ages.
Yes.
Right? And boy and girl, different needs.
Yeah.
So it's really tough. And if you don't do it together, it's going to be... Well, some people, I guess I was going to say earlier, too, that one of my mottos in life now, the kids, they're going to grow up whether we're there or not. That's not our choice, right?
Yes.
Our choice is whether to be present or not while they grow up.
That's true.
And we're choosing to be present. My husband too. It's tough. And sometimes when you're raising kids and you choosing to be present, they're the focus. Sometimes it takes the focus away from the marriage.
Yes.
And it happens.
Yes, it happens all the time.
You
yes.
know that it's the marriage takes a back seat. Oh, we're partners for now. We're housemates. We're taking care of these children. We're babysitters together. And then it comes down to choices. What are you willing to choose? What are you willing to let
give
go?
up.
Yes. Because, and I always say this too, we pay the price for the life we choose.
Yes, yes.
Because some parents, and it's not right or wrong, it's just what works for them.
Yes.
They have a nanny and they entrust everything to the nanny. Even my nanny tells me, please, like sometimes I'm so tired. I get home from work and I go, okay, let's go. Let's wash the kids. And my nanny goes, please, let me do it. She's Argentinian. Let me do it. You're so tired. Just take a break. I go, okay, I'll cook the food for the kids then. No, sit down, relax. I'll do everything. Don't worry about it. You do so much. And she says, I go home and I tell my husband, oh my gosh, this Jannelle. And and that's why she thought, she goes, one day, how old are you? I go, in my 40s, right? What? I told my husband you're in your 20s because he asked me because I tell him everything that you do. And he goes, where does he get her energy? Where does she get her energy? How old is she? And I thought you were in your late 20s. I go, whoa, you're so generous. But yeah, I get my energy from caffeine.
We were talking about it. And from your kids, I think.
And from the
Even how
kids.
tired you are when you come home, you see them happy.
Yeah.
Their smile, right?
And then they run to you.
Yes, hug you
my
and kiss
God.
you.
Yes. And
Diba?
that's when I know, you're doing the right
Great, the right thing. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I also have a question for you.
Okay.
Let's go back now on
See, ang galing mo ha. You don't have it's all in the mind. You know?
I'm learning. I'm learning
very
for my coach.
This is very spontaneous.
Nahiya naman ako.
You're doing so
Thank you,
well.
thank you.
Yeah.
So, Jannelle, kasi di ba you've been doing hosting, you're also a producer, journalist, everything you do, you know. And then how can you gain trust of a client or like, you know, someone that you interviewer, yung trust? Because not a lot of yung mga interview natin would give us information, and there are some that are very confidential. Now, can you handle those, like knowing the confidentiality of those information?
It depends. I think I gauge it based on also there are people who are, let's say, you know, this person has a reputation for being closed off, right? But on the day of, and that's why you establish rapport before the cameras roll, you see that parang he or she's more relaxed.
Yes.
And then I think maybe I can ask questions.
Okay.
There are times like that. There are times when I would ask, I'm going to ask you about this. How do you feel about that? Is that okay? Or there are times when the reputation is okay, but you see like for that day, maybe he or she's not feeling well, right? And I try to go with that vibe. And then I try to find the connection. Like, oh, so you're a mom too? How old are your children? Like, and then they get to
open up.
relax.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you get them to relax so that they can open up. Like if they're talking to a friend.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
So that's for the interviewing. For the clients, I always over-deliver and under-promise. So if I
nice.
promise
I like
this, I would give much more.
Yes.
And I don't, like some people would charge for every single thing. Oh, you want my daughter? That's a separate charge. Oh, you want this? Oh, that's a separate charge. Oh, you want
love
social media?
that,
That's a separate charge. I go,
yes.
no. You know, we'll work together because it's not just about taking.
True.
You know,
Yeah.
if you I guess I'm quite fortunate. You know, clients see me as a partner to grow their business. Or to grow their account. So I have, and I've built a lot of these relationships when I was doing LA 18. And yeah, I was very surprised that even after I had left during my hiatus from 2014 to 2017, when I announced on Facebook that I was launching a show, some of them, Zoom.com for instance, the current, I think he's now the CEO, emailed me and said, can you please contact our agency and tell them we want to support you.
Wow.
You know, things like that, because I was always like, oh, you want this? Okay, I'll give you this. And then you want this? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then,
You always give like in excess, not charging.
I think,
right?
I think so.
Because I
Some
was
people-
about to ask you,
Yeah.
doing what you're doing right now, you need to have a lot of heart. Because,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because you're very like authentic. You're very genuine. When you came here, like,
Oh, thank
you were
you.
like, let me just
Putting
put
on my
like,
lashes.
I know, lashes like asking me question. I was like, I'm the host. I'm going to be asking questions. I was like thinking, but you need to have a lot of heart. You need to be a giver, because you're also, I mean, maybe you have sponsors, but you give more than what the
You want to
know.
give,
Yeah, okay.
you always want to give more. Okay.
yes.
But you also don't want to be taken advantage of.
Yes.
Because you're not a doormat.
So how would you know if someone is already taking advantage?
Oh, you'll know. off camera, I'll tell you.
Okay.
No,
Sorry.
but you'll know.
Okay, it's
You'll know.
okay. You'll know. Okay.
You'll know when you're being taken advantage of, and that's when you have to. And that's why I think you have to have a thick skin in this business. You want to be liked,
Yes.
but more than being liked, you also don't want to be like, si Jannelle, okay lang yan, okay lang yan, everything is okay with her, so we just, let's prioritize the others first, ganon. You don't want to be like that
Yes,
either,
yes,
right?
I see.
So, and that's why sometimes with advertisers and even with the community, you have to make it a little bit more professional.
Yes.
Right? And then don't be afraid to put your foot down. You're going to badmouth me. You're not going to like what I'm going to say. But it's okay, because I can't be liked because I'm a doormat,
Yes.
right? And liked or disliked, you like that because you'd rather be disliked than be irrelevant.
Yes.
Meaning, oh, okay lang yan si Jannelle. Ano na yan, afterthought na lang yan. Right? Oh, interview muna tayo dito sa mga outlets na to and then last na si Jannelle. You also don't want them to think like that.
Now they can just access you anytime they want.
Or push you around. Or
see.
like put you in the, ganon.
Have you ever experienced that?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I do that. Like, I experience that like, what? Once every 2 weeks, ganyan.
Oh,
And
okay.
even my husband, who's non-Filipino, would just shake his hand or hurt his hand like, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you're doing this. Like, da-da-da. You get used to it by now. All I've heard from you are Filipinos or this and that. Because, there are
Yes,
some.
yeah.
And it's not just in the Filipino community. In other communities, there are like that.
Yeah.
And even non-Filipinos can treat you. But so they will treat you the way you will allow them to treat you. So I'd rather be disliked and hated and say, oh, Jannelle did this.
Then be likable and then,
because
that's
that's
true.
their version of the
Yes.
truth.
Yeah.
As long as you know with your God that you're
Yes.
doing the right thing, you didn't step on anyone's. And if you do, be quick to apologize.
I
Right?
see.
I've also had those. Right? Or just, okay, just so wala nang lang masabi, let's just give them what they want. I've done that also too. So parang case by case basis.
Wow, throughout your experience talagang na-encounter mo na lahat yan.
Yes.
That's why I need to
And
ask
I still do.
you still do up to this date.
I still do. It's
Oh,
still,
wow.
this person is asking and then yung mga ganon na parang, yeah.
Wow. And then, how do you stay grounded? Kasi I see you like a successful,
Oh, thank you.
diba? Parang, how do you stay grounded? Like, walang ego na parang, yeah, sikat na ako. Na, I don't want to go to that interview. That's why when I email you, I even message you on Facebook, you were nice to, get back with me. And
Of course.
Yes.
How do you stay grounded?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, God, we're nothing without
Yes.
Him. We're nothing without His plans for us. I have also been helped by other people when I was starting in my career, when I was starting the show. And if I don't help back, what kind of person is that, right?
Yes,
It's
yes.
just paying it forward.
Paying forward.
And also gratitude. If you're thankful for the things that you have, if you're thankful for the things that you have, then you are more encouraged. It makes me more encouraged to give. Because and also like I said, Wendy, parang I'm okay now. Like at a point in my career where I don't need any more like
likes.
branded
Oh,
stuff
yeah. True.
or
Yeah.
money
True.
or I don't need to be seen at the most happening play up.
Hindi na kailangan maging cool and in.
Wala
And,
na,
yeah,
parang
wala na.
for
Yeah.
me, is even social media, I still struggle. My numbers are not that high in social media. So hello everyone, please follow me on social media.
Oh, by the way, before we move forward, maybe we can, you can share your information where they can reach you and
yeah,
be your friend on
Thank
Facebook.
you. So I am on Instagram at SoJannelleTV. That's the TV version. But when you go there, you'll see my personal, if you want to see more of my personal stuff. And then Facebook, SoJannelle TV as well. And then YouTube, SoJannelle TV. And as I was saying, like, it's very important now, social media. Even with advertisers and sponsors, they look at the numbers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But at the same time, I was thinking about it, like, what do I want? Do I want to influence strangers? Do I want the follow and likes of people that I don't know?
True.
No. At the end of the day, what matters in life is that you have the love and respect of the people you love and respect. And for me, I'd rather influence my child to do her homework. And how do I do that? How do I influence my children to behave the way I want them to behave, to be God-fearing, to be diligent with work? I have to spend time with them. Social media also takes a lot of time.
Yes, true.
You need to be, constantly trying to see anong mga hashtags or what's
True.
trending, and then you jump on that. No, parang for me, it will be nice, right?
Yeah.
But I would much rather concentrate if I can influence these two young children that God has blessed me with,
Yes.
for them to grow up to be God-fearing and contributing to the community and all that, then I will have done my part. I'll be very proud of that.
I love that. Yeah, because everyone always check with how many likes they have on Facebook, Instagram, and all social media. So you're in the point where, whatever happened, not whatever, but I'm in the situation where you're at peace, you're happy, just seeing your family and your kids. Nice.
Yeah, if my message, if my post resonates with you,
Then
good.
yes.
If it doesn't, it's also good. I'm not going to like cater to what you want to see.
Yeah.
What do you want to see? You want to see me hanging out with like these influencers. I'm not gonna go and chase after and insert myself in like parties or events. In fact, I say no to a lot of events, especially and I always say, sometimes I say, I'd rather spend time with my children. It's the weekend.
Yes.
Like, let's say, for example, October 31st.
Halloween,
It's
yes.
Halloween.
Yeah.
So don't invite me.
They already know. They should know.
Yeah,
Like, I have kids. Save them.
Or even October 30th. It's a Saturday. I was being asked to host an event. I haven't responded yet, but I'm trying to see what activities my kids will have because it's Halloween. Things like that. I want to be there for them.
Yes.
I want to be because
It's memories, for them. Yeah.
yes.
I love that.
Oh.
And then, if you're gonna be given let's say, a career path, if you're gonna choose another career path, what career path would that be? Not like the journalism, or you're still gonna be a journalist or a host? Because you already started that on nung nasa Philippines ka pa eh.
I also did advertising.
Advertising?
During the time that I was
Oh.
hosting. So I was also working full time at an advertising agency in the Philippines.
You're hardworking.
That didn't last. That didn't last long. I only lasted, I think, a month, 2 months. They absorbed me after college because I did my internship with them as well for advertising. But then I was already doing my TV stuff, and on the weekends, they would require me to go on shoots for their clients, but I had the NCAA coverage. Or at night, they'd ask me to stay longer, but their office was in Makati, and I had to go back to Broadcast City to do the newscast. So, like, when I turned in my resignation, I think that my supervisor was like, "Oh, finally!" Parang everyone was expecting it already. And I'm like, "Finally!"
I
go,
see, I
"Yeah,
see.
I'm really sorry."
Nice.
Yeah, but anyway, a career path. I'd probably go into corporate only because to me, I find it a challenge. Because I know it's more stable. It's a more stable path. Yeah, I'd probably get into it because I want to try it because I've never.
Yeah, because you already
I've
started
never.
talagang
Ito
hosting it siya.
na.
Ito na
And
talaga.
it wasn't what I planned.
Yeah.
I stumbled upon it. So
What about maybe a coach or a mentor, or maybe doing your own course about like
you know
upcoming?
what? I'm open to that.
Right?
No one has asked me yet. I think it's because I don't know. No one has asked me yet, but people who have interviewed me have asked me to do that and said, I think there's one woman, she's non-Filipino. She has a podcast called Flip the Tortilla.
Oh,
And she is actually a very high-powered executive, still consulting with different corporations. And she interviewed me, and she said that. I think she said, I think you should do this on the side. I think a lot of people will get something from you.
I think you'll be good at it. That's what I see. Because if you wanted like stay with the kids and you can just record it, right? Like on Zoom. It's a Zoom era now, or maybe YouTube.
You know what?
Yeah.
That has always been something that I've been toying with as well, is to be a counselor.
Oh.
And I like it when so there's one woman, for instance, she's a Facebook friend, she's an actress. I met her on my show and and she reached out to me and said, Jannelle, you're an inspiration because learning about how you lived and all that, and now I'm in this relationship but I'm not sure if it's good for me, and I said, if it's not good for you, it will never be good for you. The longer you stay, you're just prolonging the agony.
You're a good coach for that.
Yes.
Right?
Kasi you just prolong.
Yes.
Yeah, you're just prolonging the
Prolonging,
agony. Just cut it.
Cut
and
it.
then so that you can open up to other So cut the long story short, that was about a year, 2 years ago, and now she's engaged.
Wow.
And she messaged me and said, "Thank you so much. I still remember when you said this and and now I'm engaged."
See?
And then the other person, he quit his job. He's a freelance videographer / photographer, very talented. He quit his job to take care of his parents during the pandemic because he didn't want to expose his parents.
Yeah.
So he worked for me part-time. Like I gave him, a few gigs here and there, but just something to do inside the house because he didn't want to go out because he was living with his parents. And I said, you know what? That's very good what you're doing because that's the only promise in the Bible. That's the only thing in the Bible, the commandment that has a promise, which is if you take care of your parents, they'll have a long life and all that stuff. And last week we filmed. He was my videographer and we were having lunch and he said, you know what, Jannelle, I still remember what you said to me when I didn't have a job because I wanted to take care of my parents and I didn't want to risk their lives by being out. And now it's all coming. It's all coming. And I'm getting gigs here and there. He can't even edit in time for my show. And he said, and it comes back to me what you said, that, taking care of my parents. I go, see, I love that.
Amazing.
I love that when they come to me and they give and I tell them what I think. And
because at the end of the day, it's still their decision. But I think you'll be good at it. Is that what I'm seeing on your
I think so too. Maybe I should do that.
Well, if you need, a
coach.
a coach like Jannelle, or maybe, you are welcome now here in our Kovala media. You can come here and do it here. Why not?
Thank you. I love that. Like an advice show, diba?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking too. Like, those people like mental, health issues,
yes.
abused women, post-divorce, empowering them because that's what they needed.
Thank you.
And we needed too, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, yeah.
So, is there any other things that you wanted to share to viewers? I know a lot of viewers enjoyed our interview. A lot of nuggets, a lot of life lessons as well. Is there any other things that you wanted to add?
No,
maybe promote your SoJannelle TV.
Yes, please watch SoJannelle TV. We air 5 times every week on 3 different channels on TFC for the TFC subscribers, also ANC. And then it's now on digital channel in Southern California, KNET 25.5. Now, if you can't catch us on any of those, we are on social media. In fact, the stuff that we post on our YouTube channel are longer versions of the interviews. Wendy on TV, the airtime is very limited because it's expensive, right? So like a 5-minute segment that we edit down is actually like a 20-minute interview. And so we post that on YouTube, so you get more out of it. So please, I always say, share us with your family and friends.
Yes.
Don't keep us to yourselves. So tell them to follow us as well, subscribe to our channel, and all that. 2 things I wanted to share. Not too long ago, I got contacted by social media by this woman. She's now an accountant, but before she was a housewife. And she was an abused wife, with talagang bruises and everything.
Physical. Yeah,
wow. And she said that your show gave me the strength. That was kabayan. Every time I would wake up sore, I would drop off the kids and I would stay home. I would just watch your show for 30 minutes. I would forget. Right? Wow. And also from the show, because I talked about, abuse, where to get help and all that. That's what also pushed her. So she was a housewife that went back to school for accounting, got the courage to leave her husband, and she's now happy. She's now an accountant and all that. Second, and I'm very proud, that you're making a difference even when you don't know, right? And that, imagine when she contacted me, I didn't have kababayan anymore, right? But she,
it's still in their mind that you're there.
Yeah. And then secondly, she's also a very well-connected Filipina, okay? And I was talking to her now with SoJannelle because we have a segment called So True, where we highlight the struggles and triumphs of Filipino immigrants. Yes. And she started crying. She said, my dad was a producer from the Philippines, very well-connected, moved here, thought he could duplicate being a producer here, but instead got rejection after rejection after rejection, lost hope, became an alcoholic, in the end separated from her mother, the wife, went back to the Philippines and died a homeless man.
Wow.
And she was crying and she said, I was thinking about it. If my dad has seen your show about immigrant struggles and that it's normal and it's not just him and there's other avenues and all that, maybe things would have been different in his life, right? And this is why I do what I do. And this is why I still do it even though it's tough, it can be demanding and all that, because you never know what it will affect. And that's why, and I'm sharing because as an encouragement to you also, as a producer yourself, keep doing what you're doing. We need a lot of these shows. Rising tides carry all boats. You know, it's not about competition, but collaboration.
Collaboration,
right?
yes.
And like I said, you know, if we can imagine, we're the largest we're the largest Asian population here in Southern California. But we don't, like the Chinese have their 24-channel Chinese televisions. They have a gazillion Chinese shows, Korean shows, Vietnamese shows, Thai shows. We don't have Filipino shows. We only have TFC,
Yes.
GMA, but GMA shows are mostly coming from the Philippines,
Yes.
right? And so we need to start racing each other more.
Yes.
And think of ways to work together instead of compete with each other.
Yes.
And so thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you, Jannelle. That's a great message, not only for me, but to all the viewers that will be watching our show. And like what you said, I think this is also one of my passion and my purpose in life is to really make an impact to many, or maybe millions of people. And that is why I really invited you to learn from you. And I admire you. You're an inspiration to
thank
many
you.
people, not only the Filipino community.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming here.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate
for
you.
having me. Congratulations and God bless.
God bless. So again, I hope you enjoyed our show, the Wendy Lindo Show, and I'll see you again on my next episode.